To begin Chapter 16, we discuss the 5 store design objectives. The first and primary objective is to implement the retailer's strategy. The design of the store must be consistent with and reinforce a retailer's strategy. Do we recall the components of a retailer's strategy? I'm hoping the answer is yes. However, we can do a quick recap just to be sure. As discussed in Chapter 5, a retailer's strategy is composed of 3 elements: the retailer's target market, the format and resources the retailer will use to satisfy the needs of the target market, and finally, the basis used for building a sustainable competitive advantage. Let's look at an example of a retailer updating their strategy, aiming to streamline operations for the sake of speed and customer convenience. Dunkin', the New England coffee and donut chain, is opening next-generation stores that feature an open design with front-facing bakery cases, allowing customers to view donut options, a warm interior color palette, atmospheric lighting, complimentary Wi-Fi, and digital kiosks providing an efficient, accurate, convenient, and frictionless experience. The best new feature of these stores is the premium pour tap system that has all cold coffee drinks lined up, similar to beer taps. With these updates, Dunkin' is catering to mobile ordering, a more modern design, and more espresso drinks. The second design objective is to build loyalty. When customers have a rewarding experience in a store or on a website, they're going to be motivated to visit that store or website again, known as repeat patronage, and develop loyalty towards the retailer. We learned in Chapter 10 that repeat patronage is not the same thing as loyalty. However, we need repeat patronage to then develop loyalty. Loyalty can be developed through 2 different types of benefits or forms of shopping. One is utilitarian, and the other is hedonic. We've talked about both utilitarian and hedonic benefits or forms of shopping in Chapter 4. In terms of building loyalty through utilitarian benefits, retailers need to allow customers to locate and purchase their products in an efficient and timely manner with minimal stress. Do we remember with utilitarian needs, these individuals are shopping because they have to. These individuals are shopping for a specific reason or product, and they want to get in and out of the store. Utilitarian shoppers don't need all the extra fluff. They don't need excitement. They don't need fancy presentation. What these customers need is to know when and where they can get their items and how quickly they can get out of the store. Utilitarian shopping is becoming more important. The utilitarian benefits customers seek are becoming more important in today's time-poor society. Because customers have less time and energy to engage in shopping behaviors, especially shopping behaviors they are not interested in doing anyway. When we talked about utilitarian shopping in the past, we talked about drivers stopping to purchase gas for their vehicles. We talked about the fact that no one really enjoys stopping to pump gas. No one wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, yes, I get to stop and pump gas on my way to work today or on my way to school today." No one does that. Some individuals don't mind stopping to pump gas, but no one actually wakes up in the morning looking forward to it. Gas stations know this. Gas stations also know that depending on the traffic patterns, individuals are not willing to turn left across several lanes of traffic to get to their store. They know that they must have highly visible signage and locate in convenient places for customers. In terms of building loyalty through hedonic benefits, retailers need to offer customers an entertaining and enjoyable shopping experience. These individuals are shopping because they enjoy it. They enjoy the process, and they are having fun. For a hedonic shopping example, let's use HomeGoods, an off-price retailer. HomeGoods sells furniture, linens, cooking products, and other home accessories at discounted prices. Each time an individual enters HomeGoods, the product selection changes. Individuals shopping at HomeGoods likely enjoy the shopping experience or the adventure of finding that next wall art, finding their favorite chair, or maybe finding a linen napkin set. In terms of store design objectives, which type of shopping behavior do you think is most important for building loyalty? Utilitarian or hedonic? I just told you that utilitarian shopping is becoming more important because of today's time-poor society. Does that mean retailers should stop focusing on their hedonic shoppers and only focus on the utilitarian ones? Even though we live in a time-poor society, should retailers focus on hedonic shoppers because it's fun, it's exciting, it's engaging? Which type of benefit or which type of shopping do you think retailers should focus on the most? I'm hoping that you're going to say that retailers should focus on both. Retailers need to focus on both utilitarian and hedonic shopping benefits to be successful. Some individuals will go to certain stores for utilitarian items because they have to purchase a specific product and they want to get in and out quickly. These individuals do not enjoy the shopping process. Other individuals will go to the exact same store and they will engage in hedonic shopping. These individuals enjoy the entire shopping experience. Retailers must make sure that they are accommodating both types of shoppers to develop loyalty. Let's use a grocery store as an example. Kroger has various displays of fresh food, soda, chips, baked goods, etc. throughout the store for their hedonic shoppers. And they also use a grid layout with overhead signage, which we'll talk about in the next video, for those utilitarian shoppers. As a quick note, retailers may focus more heavily on utilitarian benefits or hedonic benefits as they pertain to the retailer's strategy. Using the gas station example again, most customers are not seeking hedonic benefits when pumping gas. So as a part of their strategy, gas stations focus on utilitarian benefits such as convenience, minimal hassle, and highly visible signage. The third design objective is to increase sales on visits. In trying to increase sales on visits, retailers attempt to design their stores in a manner that motivates unplanned purchasing. We talked about unplanned purchasing this semester. I think it was also in Chapter 4. We talked about the fact that unplanned purchases are not the same thing as impulse purchases. Make a note that with store design objectives here, we're trying to increase sales on visits through unplanned purchasing, not impulse purchasing. As a quick recap, unplanned purchasing is when an individual goes to a retailer and they make a purchase they had not planned on making. However, in making this purchase decision, the individual uses logic and reasoning before they check out and buy that item. The opposite to this is impulse purchasing. We talked about impulse purchasing and impulse purchasers. They have the same beginning as unplanned purchases. These are purchases individuals had not planned on making, but impulse purchases do not involve logic and reasoning. They involve emotion. Let's talk about an example in the context of a grocery store. You go to the grocery store to get a few groceries. As you're walking into the store, you look at your list. You've got milk, eggs, and bread. Only 3 items. Once you get into the store, you start walking down the aisle with laundry detergent and fabric softener to get to the back of the store for the eggs and the milk. You notice the grocery store has a sale on Tide detergent. You pause for a moment and think, Tide detergent is on sale. I use Tide detergent. I don't think I need any at home right now, but wow, this sale is half off each bottle. You rationalize that at some point in the future, you're probably going to need another bottle of Tide. So you might as well go ahead and buy it today when it's half price, rather than waiting until you run out and having to pay the full price amount. In this scenario, you only went into the store to buy milk, eggs, and bread. However, you talked through buying Tide detergent using logic and reasoning and saying that you were going to need this item sometime in the future, so you might as well go ahead and buy it today. Impulse purchasing is different than unplanned purchasing in that you're not using logic and reasoning to make the purchase. Let's use the same example of the grocery store where you're buying milk, eggs, and bread again. You've walked through the store, this time without adding any additional items to your cart, and you're ready to check out. When you get up to the checkout, you look over and you notice that they have gum. You think, I've never seen this flavor of gum before. This one looks interesting. And you pick it up and you throw it in your cart on top of your bread. You didn't use any logic. You didn't use any reasoning. You just picked up the gum and said, I've not seen this flavor before. Well, it looks great. And then you put it in your basket. In this example, you're making an impulse purchase. You made the decision to purchase the new flavor of gum on emotion or the lack of logic and reasoning. When retailers focus on increasing sales on visits, they are focusing on increasing unplanned purchasing, not necessarily increasing impulse purchasing. Why do you think retailers focus on unplanned purchasing and not on impulse purchasing? Any ideas? Retailers focus on unplanned purchasing because the customers use logic and reasoning to process through that purchase decision, and they are less likely to end up with buyer's remorse. Retailers want their customers to be happy. They want customers to think through their purchases and not make them on emotion or make them on a whim. That way the customers are happy with their purchases and they will come back to the store again. The fourth design objective is to control costs and to increase profits in the design of the store. How retailers set up their stores can affect building and design costs, maintenance costs, labor costs, and inventory shrinkage. If a retailer creates a store that has isolated departments versus connected or open departments, they will need more building materials, most likely require more maintenance, and they will need to hire additional employees. In this format, each employee is going to work in one distinct department, and they're not going to move around to the other departments and help other customers. However, if a retailer uses connected or open departments, they might be able to hire fewer employees because the employees can move around a little bit more freely and see what's going on in the store. The downside of using a connected or open department is that retailers might have higher inventory shrinkage. If you're not familiar with inventory shrinkage, this is inventory that's listed on the accounting records saying that it's in the store, but it's actually not. Sources of inventory shrinkage can come from theft. Maybe your employees are stealing your merchandise. It can come from an administrative error where an individual miscounted the number of items that they thought were in the store. It could come from vendor fraud, meaning the vendor said they gave the retailer 25 items. The retailer paid for 25 items, but then they only received 20. Lastly, one of the big ways inventory shrinkage occurs is shoplifting. If customers are shoplifting inventory because the retailer does not have the sales associates to monitor the store properly, The retailer will have a lot more shrinkage of the inventory than is really necessary. The fifth design objective is legal considerations. The Americans with Disabilities Act, also referred to as the ADA, says that store design and redesign decisions must comply with both the 1990 ADA and the 2008 amendments. These say that retailers must allow for reasonable access to merchandise and service, but what this does not state is what reasonable access means. What does the term fully accessible mean? What does undue burden mean? These items are not specifically stated for retailers. So, retailers have these amendments that tell them what they have to do, but they don't tell them how to do it. So, unfortunately, a lot of the requirements or guidelines are coming out of court cases where individuals have filed lawsuits against retailers for not complying with these regulations. So this covers our store design objectives. Let's do a quick recap just to make sure you wrote everything down correctly. So as a recap, we have 5 store design objectives. These objectives are 1, to implement the retailer's strategy, 2, build loyalty, 3, increase sales, 4, control costs, and then finally, our legal considerations.